Look at my baby boy. Moshi Moshi, I'm high off a perk in the club with some shades on. Welcome to Spaz After Dark. If you are new here, hello, welcome. My name is Spaz. I run Spazetic Studio. I am Spazetic Studio, and this is the second channel where we yap. I know it feels like I've kind of abandoned the second channel. A lot has happened since September. To give you the like TLDR, and if you want the longer, the too long did read, follow me on Instagram at Spazetic Studios Creations, because I am constantly crashing the fuck out in my stories and you deserve to see that shit too. But basically what happened was
I switched oncologists. I got a metastasis report that we're going to talk about today. I got a boyfriend. That boyfriend's house flooded. The ceiling caved in on my face. And then I bought my condo. And then my condo flooded. And then we unbought the condo. And then we got evicted. And then I went to a cancer patient benefit Christmas event thing. And then I got robbed. And then it was peak PTSD season. And it still is. And I crashed the fuck out.
so that's what we missed. I've been like meaning to make this video. It's on my like to-do list, but the thing is, every time I sat down to make it, something else incredibly like life-changing would happen, and I'd be like, well, now we have to start from scratch. As you can see, these are my Christmas jammies, and if you follow me on Instagram and TikTok, I'll very sneakily put that here somewhere. You'll know that we're doing Spasmus again this year, but it's a very small Spasmus. Spasmus usually is the lead up to Christmas. The first year we did it, we did the 12 days of Spasmus. This year we did the 5 days of Spasmus, and every week there's like a new theme. So the first half of Spasmus is all about like charity and giving back and volunteering in the community. And the second half has a ton of cool freebies. And if you hear people in the background, I will remind you that I don't live alone. The only time I could film this was like over the holidays in the evening, which is kind of unusual because it means there's going to be a lot more background noise, but like, it is what it is. Okay, so Spasmus. Spasmus went really well this year, minus me getting robbed. We do have to talk about the big ol' cancer metastasis update. So originally, after my PTSD season video, which is still, you know, it's we're deep in the trenches of PTSD, but I got my follow-up, my official like post 12 weeks post-op final sort of oncologist weigh-in follow-up in September, and I wanted to make a video talking about that, and then a bunch more shit happened. So, and then we met Husband Studios, who has become a recurring character on TikTok, so, you know, go check him out. But yeah, so this is essentially what I wanted to talk about, but I've been so sad and burnt out that I just haven't been able to. In preparation for this video, I rewatched some of my other videos because, like, you know, I try to keep things consistent, so sometimes I'll watch my old content so that there's like continuity that makes sense. And one of the things that I talk about a lot in terms of my tumor is the fact that it's considered by some oncologists to be benign because it lacks the ability to metastasize. Or so I thought. So I went to what would have been my every 6 month, like big scan and checkup. And my oncologist is gone. He moved back to his country, and they gave me my new oncologist, which is actually my original oncologist, who initially like misdiagnosed me with Ewing's sarcoma. And she was like towards the end of the appointment, I don't remember what we were talking about, but she was basically like, hey, like there's no need to check you every 6 months. We'll do once annually. Because like we're done checking you for metastasis, which was weird, right? Because I was like, what do you mean checking me? Like no one had ever mentioned metastasis. Nobody had ever mentioned checking me for metastasis. I guess to be fair to them, it's not like I had ever asked, but it was like weird. I was like, are you sure like you're thinking of me? Because like when you Google a desmoid, there's a lot of articles that talk about the inability to metastasize. And when you get diagnosed with one, they tell you about its inability to metastasize. So I thought that was really weird. And she was like, yeah, like we've been secretly checking you for metastasis, for suspected metastasis. Like they were pretty sure. That's why you're on the every 6 month schedule. She's like, that's why you were doing all those chest x-rays. And I remember the chest x-rays, and I remember thinking, like, that's really weird that they keep sending me for chest x-rays, but I was experiencing a lot of like pulmonary embolisms because I have a clotting disorder. And so I guess I just kind of figured, like, okay, that's what that is. And so she's like, we didn't tell you because we didn't want to freak you out. And I was like, okay, but we've been secretly checking you for metastasis. And I was like, okay. I was like, is it cancer? I'm like, because I know it's in the sarcoma cancer family. I was like, but there's so much discourse about this stupid fucking tumor. I don't know. Like, people ask me, and I'm like, I don't know. It feels disingenuous to be like, cancer, but it is, but it's not, but it is. And so I was like, what do I tell people, right? Because now we're talking about like metastasis, which is a cancer thing. Metastasis is when it like spreads to everywhere, and in a lot of cases there's nothing to do about metastasis. It just is what it is. And so she was like, look, the abnormal growth of cells that form a tumor is always cancer, like no matter what it is. She's like, but, and I thought this was really interesting. Apparently a lot of desmoid patients, because it's locally aggressive and there's other treatments that are not chemo and radio, like the cryoablation, which is what I had, or embolization apparently is like a new means of dealing with these tumors. People don't want to lose their insurance or their jobs, because especially in the States, apparently if you're diagnosed with cancer, you risk losing your job and your insurance, which makes sense because like here in Canada, like your premium goes way up, right? Because like, well, now you are cancer. She was like, so we reclassified the desmoid as benign in order to like allow these patients that were protesting about its classification to like lead a relatively normal life. And I was like, okay. Like, because I was like, look, like I've looked into it and like no one can agree. And even from like doctor to doctor, nobody can agree. Like I've had oncologists tell me there's no way, like it's not benign, fuck you. I've had oncologists tell me it is benign, fuck you. And I'm like, I don't know like what. I just tell people I had a form of soft tissue cancer because that's how originally it was explained to me. First they were like, you have like regular ass sarcoma. And then I did 2 biopsies. And then after the second one, they were like, psych, it's not. It's this other like horrible rare thing. But it's in the sarcoma cancer family. And like I've been treated as a cancer patient at the cancer center. And the only people that are like licensed to deal with my tumor are sarcoma specialized oncology surgeons, of which in Quebec we only have one. Which was the dude who treated me, and then he left. And then this oncologist that I have now is now the one. She came back from mat leave, basically. I think they had him to replace her. Anyways, point being, so not even like among oncologists, it's not like they can like refer me to a random oncologist, like it has to be her. And so I was like, okay, so metastasis plus abnormal cells equals cancer. And she was like, yes, but if you, I don't have insurance. She's like, but if you were insured, it would be a benign aggressive fibromatosis, and like you would be able to keep your insurance and you would be able to keep your job. And I was like, huh. So that was fun. In the meantime, I joined another cancer support group specifically for AYA, so adolescent and young adult cancer patients. Check them out if you're in Montreal. They're called SICKCLUB.CA. Part of Spasmus this year was the cancer care packages, which I do every year for Christmas because it helps me remain sane. But also because I like entered palliative care around Christmas and it blows. So PTSD season. Yeah, we made them little care packages. It was really nice. Mr. Studios helped me and my wonderful audience helped me. And it was really nice and it felt really good. And they let me stay for the sound bath. They were like, join our organization. And I was like, yeah, but I'm post-treatment. And they were like, we're 90% post-treatment anyway. And I was like, yes. So at the moment, I'm in a post-treatment support group, a local AYA support group, both like post-treatment, like they're in the AYA group, like a mix of post-treatment, metastatic, non-metastatic, and then Sick Club is AYA, and they're also like a mix of everybody. It was really beautiful. They held like a nice little sound bath. It was their second event ever. I made sandwiches for them too. It was really nice. Like, it was really nice. It carried me through sort of the first leg of holiday PTSD season. So let's talk about that. Holiday PTSD season. So like I said, in Christmas of 2023 was the last time that I was fully septic. So to recap, if you're new, my tumor exploded. It punched a hole from my intestine out towards my skin. So I had a cryoablation where they cryo freeze your tumor, and it went like really horribly, massively wrong. They fucked it up real bad. And by the way, I found out that the reason they fucked it up real bad, so my original oncologist, who is now my oncologist, was supposed to do that procedure. The reason that she didn't do that procedure was because she was pregnant and it was like super high risk, and apparently the whole 9 months I was in the hospital, she was the floor above me in the hospital for 9 months. And then they had to like induce early labor, and then her baby was like in the NICU for like 14 weeks. It was insane. Like, it was crazy, right? And so I was like, oh shit. So this was really nice. She apologized and she was like, I'm sorry. Like I know it feels like I kind of just abandoned you at a very delicate time. She's like, I was going through the most. She's like, I was hospitalized the whole time, and your doctor, my oncologist at that time, who saved my life, shout out him, would literally like come and see me on the 8th floor and then go upstairs to the 9th floor and like update her. Like, she was like, I knew what was happening the whole time. She goes, but I couldn't do anything because I was on like mandatory bed rest. And I was like, what the fuck? So she's like, the reason that like months and months and months and months were going on, because my cryoablation, part of the problem was I think it was too late. My tumor was very strange and abnormal, and it kept like growing and growing and growing, like way beyond the margins of what is considered normal for a desmoid tumor. And so like they made me wait like almost 9 months for my ablation, and at that point my tumor was so big, and she was like, the person that had to do it was me. She's like, because no one else has the expertise to do it, but because I was also sick, there was nobody comfortable to do it, and then they kind of scheduled you out of desperation, and so that's kind of part of the reason that my procedure was fucked up. But it was fucked up so bad, my tumor exploded and it punched a hole through my abdomen, like to the outside world. And so I like was quite literally just like the contents of my insides had become my outs, like essentially disemboweled. So because a resection, which is when you just cut out the whole area, wasn't like possible because of the contamination, I had to do a bunch of other shit. So I had like a surgically implanted drain, and then I had the colostomy bag, and then they were like waiting for it to heal. But the problem is that like I kept going septic. I would get these huge massive infections that would like spread to the bloodstream. I was on Septra for months. That's what made all my like hair fall out and tanked my I stopped producing white blood cells and like vitamin B and shit. Septra is like the most powerful antibiotic like ever. Like, there is nothing else above Septra, and I was on it for a month. It was brutal. It was painful. Like it burned. Like, it was painful, and it's intravenous only, and you have to be living in the hospital to get it. And so I would like be septic, and then it was like, oh my god, okay, like we're okay now, and then it was like, oh, back to sepsis, and then I was like, oh my god, okay, back. And so the last time that happened was Christmas Eve of 2023. And then I went to the hospital, and then I didn't leave. My puncture from my intestine to the outside world grew a second puncture. Like, I guess my body didn't have enough space to dump the contents of the inside to the outside. And so now they're called fistulas. It's an unnatural connection between either two organs or like an organ and your skin and the outside world. In my case, it was the tumor to the intestine to the skin to the outside world. And my body basically opened a second fistula. So there was enough pressure to open a second hole. Disemboweling part 2, baby. It is as horrific as it sounds. I'm trying to kind of like talk in circles because it's disgusting. It's very upsetting. Like, it's a very upsetting thing to happen. Anyways. And then I had like, it got to the point where they're like, okay, like, we give up. Like, we cannot find any other way of fixing this. We're gonna do a Hail Mary. We're just gonna cut everything out of you. Like, bad tissue, healthy tissue, fuck it. Everything's gotta go. And so that's exactly what they did. I had a whole resectioning of my lower left abdomen. And I got like done with that around the 24th of January. More bullshittery happened afterwards. They gave me a staph infection. The nurses at the hospital where I was at, not particularly good, but they gave me a staph infection. And they actually had to bring me back to the ER and redo my wound closure. Story for another day. So all that to say, the holidays are fucking weird. The holidays are really weird for me. And again, the same kind of thing that happened to me in, not even September, like end of August-ish happened again, where it's like, I thought I was sick. I was like, oh, and I think I was. I had like gastro, and I was like, oh God, like I have this like really bad flu, and like I have these like migraines that won't go away, and I have like constant nausea and like super diarrhea, but I was also like really angry and agitated all the time and like on edge and like anxious for no reason. And the closer we got to like it being Christmas, the more it's like, it was like, oh, like these like feelings like creeping up on me. It was really strange. And then today I like properly looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, Christmas is on Wednesday, because like Christmas Eve is like a big deal for us. The Virgilia, Christmas Eve, is more important than Christmas Day. So like the night of the 24th going to the 25th is the party, and then the 25th is just kind of like, whatever. So so we're like, okay, well, like I'll prep my gingerbread dough, right? And so like I was making a bunch of dough, and all of a sudden it was like I have to cry for 2 hours, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I called Mr. Studios, of course, and I was like, what the fuck? And he was like, has it occurred to you that maybe you're having like a big PTSD moment? And I was like, oh yeah, that does make sense, doesn't it? Again, I don't know how it keeps like catching me by surprise. My brain is like, maybe it's gastro, maybe it's COVID, maybe it's the flu, maybe it's that. And the whole time it's just the big sad. So that's what that is. Christmas is tough, man. I just wanted to end so that we could be done and I could like get on with my life. So that's kind of it. I wanted to sit down and make this video and talk about my interaction with my new oncologist, really. And then a bunch more shit happened. But like, it was a nice, like, minus that we've been secretly testing you for metastasis, it was a nice appointment. She apologized, like, I was kind of brainstorming about how am I gonna broach this subject, because I didn't want to say something. I wanted to be like, yo, you like left me to die. Where were you? And like, I really liked my oncologist and I really trusted my oncologist a lot. Like, and I felt like genuinely betrayed as a patient and as a person when she disappeared into the night with no explanation. Little did I know, you know? And so like, apropos of nothing, she apologized and she was like, I kept tabs on you. I kept tabs on everything that happened to you. All the time, every day, I was a floor above you in my own hospital bed, like keeping tabs on you. And I genuinely thought that that was really nice. She was like, we talked a little bit about like PTSD, and I was like coming to this hospital is a really big deal for me. It's really hard for me when I see the hospital, even if I'm driving on the highway. It's a big hospital. You can like see it like looming in the distance, even if you're not even going in the direction of the hospital. To get from like one end of the city that I'm in past Montreal, if I'm here, you go all the way through Montreal and you keep going, you can see the shape of that goddamn hospital because it's huge. And she was like, yeah, she's like, I also have PTSD. She's like, and I work here. Like, I have to be here every day. She's like, and all I can think of is like, oh, I almost died there. I almost died there. And I was like, yeah, well, that's the boat I'm in, lady. She was like, it was really nice. She was like, you know, I read your biopsy from the hysterectomy. She's like, and I saw that you didn't have endometriosis. I thought that was really shocking. She's like, what's going on with that? And I was like, yeah. It turns out my uterus had been growing onto my intestines. I am trying to remember if I gave an update on that, but if I didn't, or if you're new here, I had my hysterectomy when they did my colostomy reversal. And we thought I had endometriosis because all of the imaging showed endometriosis, and it turns out that it was not endometriosis. It was a severely deformed uterus. My uterus, instead of shedding everything during my period, was holding on to it and like building into neighboring structures, which in my case was my poor intestine, bro. This poor thing. I don't know, like the universe has it out for my intestine. But like it was growing into my intestine, and the endometriosis tissue that they saw on my intestine was my fucking uterus. It was the uterus. The uterus had merged itself as one with my intestine. So we talked about that, and she was like, there's like something up with you. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, there's a lot of things up with me. I gave her my physical updated medical file, which is like this thick with all of my protocols, and I have over 165 medication allergies to very normal medication that they give to people. Like a Gravol could take me out. Fucking Gravol. And so we talked for a while, and we went over all of these things, and she was like, I've been studying you. She's like I wasn't there physically. She's like, but I was there. And then I found out I'm the first person in history to have a desmoid and a fistula together, which is why they could not figure out how to freaking treat me. And I almost died because nobody could agree on what to do, because there was no medical precedence for what was happening to me. And then I found out, shortly before my follow-up appointment, there was like the annual like review of the literature. And obviously she's like a soft tissue cancer doctor, so she went to the soft tissue like version of that. And they had the top doctor for sarcoma in the whole world fly in to Montreal to like be at this like compendium. And my oncologist said that she asked the top doctor, who has been a sarcoma doctor for God knows how many years. She's like, we went through the last 45 years of medical history, and I asked him, have you ever seen like everything that happened to me? And he said, no. So they published a paper on guess who the fuck, because I'm the only one. And then, wait, it gets weirder. She's like, a few weeks ago, so a few weeks before my appointment, somebody else had the same complication. And the only reason that they were able to save that person's life is because they modeled the treatment that they used on me. So I'm not saying that I'm God's favorite little soldier, but like how fucking insane is that? Apparently at this like literature review, not only did they run to publish a thing about me, but a lot of people now know me. And it makes sense, because I find myself sometimes walking through the hospital and people will stop me and they'll be like, I know you, first and last government name. And I'm like, okay, like, who the fuck are you? And they're like, you were on C8. And I was like, I was on C8. Like, but how do you know that? And I'm like in plain clothes, right? So I'm like, who is this? Probably like a nurse, a radiologist, like somebody. And then they just like, cool, nice to meet you, bye. And I'm like, who the fuck? And this has been happening for a while, and now I know why it's been happening. So my oncologist was like, everybody knows you because we've been studying you. At my hysterectomy, one of the residents who partook in my surgery, before they anesthetized me, was in the corner of the room, and she shouted to me, who was like strapped down, crucified on the table, was like, she's like, "I've been studying you." And I was like, so that's it. So my oncologist was like, "We've been studying you. Like they reported on you. You're in the literature, specifically you." And that's it. And my horrible disemboweling saved a person's life because they knew what to do. So, you know, it was not all for naught. I think it was for something. I really hope that person lived. Like, I really hope that person is out there, like, alive and well. That would actually make me really happy. But they're not going to tell you, right? Patient confidentiality. But yeah, it was a nice heart-to-heart. Apparently, I've been studied. I'm also the first person to have the, like, desmoid the size that I had it. In the last 45 years of recorded medical history, they could not find anybody who matched the description of me, which I think is really interesting. So if ever you doubted that I am the most special girl in the world, it is now empirically proven at the fucking Quebec CHUM hospital. So I actually don't know if they did it at the CHUM. I know they did the pheochromocytoma one. I don't know where they were doing the soft tissue. So maybe I'm wrong. But like, I don't know, chime in. Are you soft tissue oncologist who specializes in sarcoma? Let me know. Holler at me because I want to read it too. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It was a very touchingly human moment. My oncologist talked about her baby, and it turns out that we have the same blood clotting disorder. And she was like, yeah, you know, she's like, I had my baby. She's like, and my baby reminds me of you. She's like, she's not the, like, she was in the NICU and she went through all this stuff. She goes, but she's so tenacious and alive and well and like hitting her milestones and acting like nothing was. And she reminds me of you. And I was like, aw, I was like, that's really nice. It was really nice. It was a really nice appointment. I went in there expecting, I think, combat. Cause you know, like, that's kind of my default now. When you're like a rare case, doctors want to fight you because they think that you're faking. But the joke is on them, right? Because I have like the geneticist report and the hematology oncology report and the regular oncology report. Like, but still, they'll get sassy with me and they'll be like, I think your doctors aren't good enough and they think there's something wrong. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I've been evaluated. I don't even know how many doctors have evaluated. Like, these are not reports by like one guy. These are reports like as peer reviewed by several doctors over the span of many years. And so I'm always kind of ready for like bullshittery. And I was ready on that day for bullshittery. And instead of getting bullshittery, I got like a very heartwarming and personable doctor's appointment. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm talking to a person instead of a little robot. I love the oncologist who saved my life, although he is a little bit robot pilled. Like, he's very, he's not a sentimental guy. He's a very typical, I think, like, Shiite, Saudi, middle-aged man. Like, he doesn't really, like, he's not, like, jokey. He's very stoic. I know he likes me, and I love you too. He saved my life. I love him so much. But like, he doesn't show it, you know? Every once in a while you'll like get a glimpse and you're like, oh, I made him smile. I feel so accomplished. But he's more stoic. Whereas the oncologist I have now is more like I've never had a doctor be like, my baby reminds me of you. I was like, oh, what the hell? It's so nice. So that's it. Checking me for secret metastasis, though, is insane. Again, if you're the oncologist who did my resectioning, you know who you are, and you were secretly checking me for metastasis, you don't want to, like, just let me know. Like, you could have just phrased it as, like, to be safe, I want to check you for metastasis. Secret metastasis? Girl, okay. Meanwhile, I'm over here, like, desmoids don't metastasize. My oncologist was like, no, they do metastasize. We thought yours metastasized. I was like, okay, fucking all right, I guess. And that's it. That's my pre-holiday update. If you want a more chipper update is coming. I am gonna do my yearly review. I'm gonna do it over on the main channel, which is Spazzatic Studio. And instead of just hearing from my VTuber, you're also gonna hear from me. And I'll go more into detail about like spasmus and my plans for the channel, and I promise, okay, the like Temu fast fashion video, it's coming. The critique is coming. There's gonna be new segments coming. Hopefully I'll have time to do them all in 2026. One of them is called Spaz Sucks at Everything. Very excited about that. And the other one is Spaz Investigates, and I have those scripted, but the PTSD whiplashed my ass so hard. Life has just been me. Like, I need a break. I have not been able really to produce anything. I got the Halloween video out in November on the main channel, and it was only because I had Mr. Studios to help me edit. So there's that. But anyways, I just wanted to come and give you, you know, the good Yuletide wishes. Happy New Year. It's gonna be an eventful 2026, I think, as soon as PTSD season stops kicking my ass. So there's your cancer update for you. Again, I'd like to shout out Sick Club Montreal. Thank you for inviting me to be a member. And if you are a cancer patient or a post-treatment cancer patient in the Montreal area, or outside the Montreal area, come hang out. They have pretty frequent events that are really fun. The sound bath was like absolutely amazing. It was crazy. And as always, if you want more lifestyle content, check me out on TikTok at Spasadic Studio. If you want to watch me try and fail miserably at art, check out at Spasadic Studios Creations on Instagram. And the main channel where I will appear very shortly after the new year is Spasadic Studio. And again, you can like, comment, and subscribe, and squingle that bwingle and boingle that squingle if you want to hang out here. And that's it. Thank you for sitting through the weird metastasis update. And hopefully the next time that I have to see the inside of a cancer center will be in the summer of 2026 for my annual checkup, and not at all before. So with that having been said, thank you for hanging out. Merry Christmas, or not Christmas if you don't celebrate Christmas. I love you. Goodbye.